the first point I think of is, as I read through your release from this week on your first quarter results, the first thing that smart providers, global providers need to be doing is having that conversation with their employees. In this example, it is through the European Works Council, as I understood it. But, the European model, if you will, we've talked about how Europe is probably going to influence the United States and the world as far as GDPR and issues of privacy. Well, imagine too if a more pro-worker agenda starts to materialize in a place like the United States and in other localities, then the European example of a European Works Councils might gain influence. I don't know. So I think it's important for providers, for enterprises to be having great communication and conversations with their employees about the situation. And to your point, Amit, also, that leads to other conversations. How will technology mesh with human beings going forward to augment their performance and to improve the performance of the enterprise? And to Melissa's earlier point about improving the customer and employee experience at the enterprise. That's the big thing, is the communications with employees going forward and how that might take place.
Great, thanks, Stephen. Michael, from your perspective, we've talked a lot about, the need for security, privacy, etc. Particularly as you talk about elements like GDPR or data, and is in your view, for what can organizations do to prepare? Give us your perspective.
Well, sure. I think probably the first thing that comes to mind as we talk about the work-at-home model is the reticence or queasiness on the part of some clients to not like that model because they're concerned about security. The question is the agent who they say they are? Are there opportunities for fraud? And so I think right now there has been, so to speak, an easing of those concerns, frankly, as we need people working from home, again, productively. So the security doesn't end right there. There's also the security, for example, in contact centers themselves for employees, for vendors, for anyone outside of the organization, again, to be healthy and to maintain an environment where people feel as if they can come to work again very safely. I think the security concerns that we've always had about cyber threats, about phishing, social media, those will continue, frankly. I think the attackers will continue to get smarter, use new tools and the like, which keeps, information security and security specialists, up at night, thinking about where are the threats coming from, and doing a really good job these days, in terms of what I'm seeing, is proactively looking for the threats and understanding how to mitigate them and how to learn from that and share it across standards globally.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Melissa, your take on the role of CX design and digital transformation as we move forward.
Yeah, I think I really liked Michael's comments, and you went kind of deep, Mike, on the security aspect. But you mentioned that keeping people safe and healthy and work from home, and we don't know when centers will reopen, how they will reopen, if we have to take steps back and close again. I think one of the biggest things companies need to be thinking about right now is how to optimize those platforms and optimize the communication tools. Communication and transparency are the biggest things when it comes to this paradigm when it deals with employee engagement. And we have to recognize the fact that while a lot of companies, BPOs like yourselves, have been really mature in having this, work at home offer as part of a, delivery portfolio offering, the center folks that you had within, the brick and mortar facilities aren't the same profiles, and they aren't working on the same type of things. It's a fundamental different kind of design. And so while the last few weeks have been tremendous in just kind of getting everybody moved that you could and hunkered down and settled in with the technology and with business process, we also have to be aware of the fact that these folks, may not necessarily take to work from home. Right now, everybody seems to be rallying. I've heard great stories about, even better performances and productivity and stuff because people, are grateful to have a job and want the security and stability. Longer term, depending on what the next normal looks like and having more and more folks work from home, I think it's super important that we look at the tools that we have and how we engage employees. So thinking about the virtual collaboration tools, the training, the career pathing, even just something as simple as, having the daily, the 3 times a day huddles, that these folks don't have. And I spent a lot of time working in the Philippines. I know how important it was for those Starbucks runs that you got to take. So, are we setting up virtual water coolers and things like that for people to feel, it's a mental well-being as well as just being able to be productive. So I think if I had to say, what we need to double down on right now in terms of preparing for the future, it's that element of how we approach this work at home, these work at home folks and how we engage.